The time is 5:02 p.m. Adequate notice of...
Wait one sec.
I'm sorry?
Okay, it's recording.
Do it again?
Just the date, if you would. Thank you, sorry.
You want me to do it again? I can't hear. I'll do it again. I'll start again.
Hold on.
Good evening.
One
Good
second.
evening. Oh,
Still having an issue. Dylan, having an issue. 1 second, I'm sorry.
come on, it's like some of the Olympics have been, false start. I can't hear you in my cone of silence.
I get that a lot.
This is going to be like Groundhog Day, right? Okay. We're good? All right, we're going to try this again. All right. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call this meeting to order. The Village Council, the Village of Ridgewood, special public budget meeting, February 17th, 2022. The time is now 5:03 p.m. Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by posting on the bulletin board in Village Hall, by mail to the Ridgewood News, the Record, and by submission to all persons entitled to same as provided by law of a schedule including the date and time of this meeting. Roll call.
Councilwoman Perrin,
Here.
Councilwoman Reynolds, Deputy Mayor Seaton,
Here.
Councilman Vagianos has not yet arrived, and Mayor Newton.
Here. Please join us for the flag salute. Please join us in a moment of silence for our men and women serving our nation, our first responders, and all victims of violent crime. Okay, very good. Thank you. We'll let the record show that Councilman Vagianos is arriving, and it's 5:04 p.m. Good evening, Councilman. Okay, we're going to go to public comments, not to exceed 3 minutes per person. We have nobody here, so we'll move right on to our discussion items. Where is the boss? Oh, here she comes.
So our first item this evening is the Police Department. We have Chief Jacqueline Lucky, Captain Forrest Lyons, and Sergeant Jay Chuck.
Hello, everyone. Okay. Sorry, mask and glasses don't always work there. Don't fog up. Good evening, Mayor, Council, distinguished guests. I know for this evening, the first thing I'd like to discuss is just highlight a couple of the accomplishments that we had for last year. We're still in process, actually, of meeting all of the newly required training mandates brought on by all of the legal changes which occurred in the last year. This includes how we handle juveniles, marijuana, de-escalation, resiliency, use of force, defensive tactics, pursuit, and various new reporting requirements and systems, and that just names a few. This has truly changed how we do our job on a day-to-day and call-to-call basis. Last year, we were able to purchase, train, and fully implement our body-worn cameras for every officer in the department. This is a significant achievement, as the training for the initial rollout and the continued proper use of this camera is now crucial to every aspect of policing in 2021 and moving forward. In addition, this has created the increased workload to my officers due to the need to review and redact significantly more videos than in the past. We have continued to work with Mobizent to finalize the hosting contract for the electronic ticketing platform to allow for the source of revenue for the village. At this time, Mobizent is actually working on duplicating our special complaint form, which will allow not only us and other departments to use the platform, but other Village of Ridgewood departments who currently issue summonses in the paper format we'll be able to do that in the electronic format. In addition, Mobizent is working with our records management vendor, which is Enforcis, to see the feasibility of allowing information to feed directly into our reports, which would make it easier and more efficient for officers to complete reports. A couple of my goals for 2022: hire, train, and promote people for both sworn and civilian positions in order to effectively prepare for oncoming retirements, increase our community policing presence, better utilize my sworn staff, allow civilians to handle the onslaught of the new administrative responsibilities, and to increase our enforcement of some of those parking regulations. I want to work with our vendors and with our signal department in order to upgrade our radio infrastructure. This will allow for a more reliable and resilient backup system and would allow Village Hall to stand on its own in case of an emergency. As the radios are the lifeline for our officers, this critical system is long overdue for these necessary upgrades. And I'd also like to hire a web design company in order to create and maintain a robust website for the police department. Many of the newly implemented state mandates require specific information to be available on our website. And our website was very out of date and very wieldy to try to use. We felt it was better to take down that website instead of being in non-compliance with state mandates. We do have the mandatory information right now on the village website, but it would be very beneficial for numerous reasons if we were able to hire a company to build and maintain a website for us. Then I'll briefly go through our budget with our line item increases, unless you have any questions at this point.
Don't go line by line, just give if you have large increases in any particular. Thank you.
So one of our big increases is in our overtime budget. That is due directly to the unfunded mandates. In the last 2 years, obviously, a lot of training has had to be done virtually, and the cost for that is less. Some of the mandated training we have right now, for example, our ICAT Able Resiliency training is a mandated 4 days of training for every officer. The new use of force training is a mandated 2 days of training for every officer. Active shooter training is a mandated 3 days of training for every officer, and that's just to name a few. Uncompensated time is up. Again, we don't know anything for sure, but there are potentially 6 people that could retire this coming year. Maintenance of other equipment. This line item, we really just condensed a lot of things: lights, radios, cameras, equipment within the vehicle. It really better reflects what we spend in that line item year to year. It has added costs for the maintenance of our fingerprint machine, radio infrastructure, current in-car cameras. The important note on that is those are at the end of their lifespan, so they're very expensive to try to maintain or replace. Our current electronic, the conducted energy devices, or what we call the tasers, and some of the village-wide security and access control system. In that one, I know the line item there says $72,000. We've just found out today that one of the vendors, in order to continue monitoring with them, it's actually an additional $7,000 increase. So that line item would need to be $79,000 to continue to maintain, and that is part of our security control and access system.
Before you leave that page, I don't quite understand the reference, the second line, lights-regional communications. Maybe you went over it, but I wasn't following. What does lights have to do with communication?
It's just the name of the company. Regional Communications actually also does a lot of our car work. They put in the lights, they put in the barricades, so they do a lot of it that's not just radio-based, in addition to dealing with our portable radio system. So that's why it's lights and still says Regional Communication.
Okay, and are these just regular car lights? lights?
I'm sorry, Pam, could you please use
Oh,
your
I'm
microphone?
sorry.
Because I
Are
can't
these-
hear what you said before.
Yes, I'm
either.
sorry. What kind of lights are these?
So they're the overhead lights. They're the lights that are in the headlights. They're the spotlight on the side of the car. That's kind of a catch-all for us. It's what regional does. Lights is one of those things.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Jackie, just real quick, where is your web person baked into this? I'm just trying to figure out where your website,
On the I just have to see, actually, give me 1 second there. See, is it other tracking system? Web design company, yeah, other contractual services in 029.
okay, so that, so on that, let me just find that sheet. So 029, thank you.
From some of the conversations that we've had, I'm estimating it about $5,000 to a build from scratch, maintain for us system. It doesn't sound
I
like it.
don't think so.
Okay, how about now?
There we go.
Oh, okay. So your other contractual services are, over $500,000. What is the bulk of that?
The bulk of that is the crossing guard contract,
Which is approximately how much?
$480,000.
Wow.
Well, 32 employees. We have 32 posts that we cover on a daily basis.
On this page where it says background information service, all departments, is that for all village departments? Okay. And also at the top of this page, what is Power DMS? Annual license? That, it's flat, but what is it?
Yeah, so Power DMS is the electronic record-keeping system for our policies and procedures and our online training. It's so that we can stop printing out every single policy and having 15 binders. It actually allows the officers to be able to access that information from a computer, from a car, from a phone.
You said policy, procedures, and training?
Training.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, we have some online training platforms through that as well. We can do tests through there.
Jackie, I have a couple of questions. First, office and clerical went up about $70,000. Can you let us know why?
So some of that, so with the advent of all of the new changes, I mentioned the increase in some of the administrative things, including this redacting of videos. Just as a brief example, if we have a 30-minute video to review, redact, copy, etc., it'll take 3 times as long. So for every hour, it's 3 hours of work per video. So part of what I've been requesting is an additional position, because right now I have, primarily it's one detective who probably 4.5 out of his 5 days is strictly dealing with these videos. And I would rather reallocate how I'm using my sworn personnel instead of having them do what I can have done by an administrative civilian position.
And certainly by someone who's less expensive.
Yes.
Got it. My next question is on the crossing guards. That went up about $80,000. And I'm going to just ask, if we have the same 32 places, why did that go up so significantly?
Part of that is the minimum wage issues. Also, the new requirements of the covering sick days, time off, that have all come down the pipe. they haven't had a raise in a few years now. So it is also a raise for the crossing guards, because the problem we've been having, I know it was all over the news at the beginning of this year that we didn't have enough guards, and part of that is because we're now one of the lowest paying towns. So our crossing guards are leaving for other positions because they haven't had a raise in so long. So we're trying to bring that up to a more competitive level.
Got it. And I will tell you my overview here. I keep saying I'm the new guy here.
Paul, can you just use your microphone?
Oh,
I can't
forgive
hear.
me.
Thank you.
I keep saying I'm the new guy here. And I know that at some point, we're going to have to cut money from this giant book here. You have one of the larger departments. You also have, from what I've seen so far, the largest increase. And I understand completely that you have new requirements that require you to spend more money. I am completely on board with that. But at some point in the next couple of weeks, I would love for you to spend some time looking at your department to see all of the things you really, really believe you should have, but some that you could live without, because at some point, everything's going to have to give. And I'm not saying that it's going to give in the police department. What I'm saying is, I'd rather have you go through your budget and make a determination than we go through your budget and make a determination. And believe me, I listened to all of this, I read all of this, I read all the underlying, and I realized that it's hard as you have increasing mandates, because increasing mandates cost more money. But we have to find places. So with your help, hopefully we can figure this out.
And I know we have been through this budget multiple times. One of the things that I did coming in as chief was kind of start on a zero-based budgeting so that I could honestly say, this is what we need in these accounts. So, you know, having these mandates that we have to abide by does make it increasingly difficult to continue. I understand what you're saying, however.
And I don't envy.
I'm always willing to take another look.
And that's all I ask, because again, I have read through especially this section of the budget more carefully than even the others, and I see this is not a wish list of things.
Exactly.
I understand that, but like I said, you're in a better position to say where we can hold off for a year or two. Thanks, I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
So Jackie, I have just a couple of other questions. I just want to go back to the video redacting, because I know we've been down this road before. We've had this conversation, and I know we've had conversation about the availability of video redacting software. And I just wonder, has any progress been made on the redaction software? And also, how many hours a week would you say a detective has worked on that? Because, and I'm asking actually for a reason, because it would seem to me that if we could spare the detective to do that work, then did we need to have that detective in the detective bureau? And I'm just saying that with a tremendous amount of respect. I know you know that, but just need to have a better understanding how many hours a week someone out of the detective bureau was working on that.
And I'll give it to you in a minute, but it's not a matter of we've been able to spare him. Due to a lot of the legal changes, police officers are reactive now, and it is a very heavy detective caseload after the fact. The few detectives that are in there are very, very stressed. There has been overtime that has been required because I don't have my full use of everyone. And as to the number of hours he has spent, I'm really not exaggerating when I say 4.5 days. 32 hours a week is not an unusual thing. Regarding the redaction software, the authorized software that we're permitted to use, we do have. What was that? Right.
So we don't have this software yet?
Correct. That software, I think, is still in this list here. So that we can get the rest of that. We are making another change to hopefully be able to make at least some of the copying process a little bit easier, dealing with some links that we may be able to use, because right now when you need to copy a disk, you literally are glued to the desk, because if it times out and you're not watching it, you have a very short time frame, and if you miss that time frame, you have to start all over again.
To burn a disk is
Yes.
what you're saying. So then I have another question. In terms of the software aspect, if that software is redacting and doable, does it make sense? Do you need somebody full-time to continue to do that? And I just had another question. So last night we had Kim here from court, and she indicated that everything's being dismissed, and didn't follow all of exactly what types of cases. I just want to know if the volume of video redaction and discovery is reduced as a result of the changes to the court system.
No, because even when things are dismissed, we still have to provide all of that in advance. So all of the discovery and everything is still happening. It's not until they get all of that and then they go to court and then it gets dismissed.
Okay.
So we have the Axon software
I
already?
don't think that's on, Chinzo. Oh, never mind.
How about now?
Better.
Closer? Gotta touch it. We have the redaction software, but it's the level 1. It's the basic level. What we're asking for is the new AI-enabled enhanced redaction software. But still, even with that, it takes some of the work out, but you have to manually go in and watch faces, names, computer screens.
And listen.
Yeah, and listen to if they're coming up with the wrong audio or any personal identifying information is given out improperly. It's an arduous task, and someone's actually got to, because if you're releasing this, we're at a very bad liability stance. We have to release what we can release and redact what must be redacted. As to the detective, we've actually been taking cases that we would normally look into and not looking into them because we are so short. So that's what I was saying. The problem is we normally would look into frauds and provide a little bit of higher level of customer service. We are unable to do that and have been for a while now because the other things are mandated and required, and we are not required to look into frauds. I'm not saying that we shouldn't, we should be, but staffing levels will not allow that when we have an increase in burglaries and, all things like that.
And for example, on the redaction, so if the officers are at a burglary scene, the officer that's doing the redactions, number one, has to see whose faces are there. There's some information about victims that may have to be redacted, anything about children that has to be redacted. They also have to be listening to all of the other calls that are going on at the time. Because while officers are at a burglary scene, if another officer makes a motor vehicle stop, now the information for this person who's not involved at all with their driver's license and all of their personal information is now in this recording because it goes over the officer's radio who's at the other scene, which is why it is a very labor-intensive thing to be reviewing these.
Okay, I just had one last question, having nothing to do with video redaction. We're totally do an about-face on it. Just on the shooting range, it says 18,000 per head, and then you ask for 18,000, but the way I'm reading it, so what is that?
It's a per head charge, but it is
Is the
$18,000.
cap. So what is that? Do we know what what does that translate into per person?
I don't remember,
Okay.
without doing the math, I don't remember off the top of my head.
No, I just want to make sure that's how I understood it. Okay.
Yes,
It is how I understood it, it didn't see the breakdown. Thanks.
yes.
So you did mention last year that you needed a civilian to go over these videos, and is the amount, what you're proposing, a salary of $42,000? Am I reading that correctly? That would be a new hire?
That would be a new hire.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. And it is, and some of that is whatever the learning curve is going to be. Having some police knowledge in advance will significantly help with that because of what they can bring to the table on what is and isn't releasable, what is a crime, what is a disorderly person's offense, because everything raises to those different levels.
Have any other questions about this? If not, we'll go on to capital.
Can I just check
Sure.
my little yellow stickies?
Sure, go right ahead.
Under materials and supplies, there's a mention, it's flat, open house 2022. Did I miss a big party?
No, so we actually had all great plans for the 2020 open house that was supposed to happen in May. And needless to say, we know that didn't happen and couldn't happen in 2021. So we're really hoping, I know the fire department does one. I know there's other towns that do one. We really want to, especially now in today's day and age, bring people in here, show them who we are, what we're about, what we use. One of the mandates was that getting, and I don't have my camera on, but I have my mount on, was getting the information out about what these look like. So I would love to be able to bring people in and show them what it is they're looking at. I will say, if you watch The Rookie on TV, they do use the taser, the Axon cameras, and they really do look that good. But getting them in to show them what are the tasers that we carry, what are the cameras that we carry. This is what the external carriers are, so that people aren't put off when they see the officers coming to a scene. They know better what to expect, and it helps increase their comfort level and increase our professional level when we can talk better.
Okay. Under leased vehicles, I'm having a hard time understanding that detail. It seems you're talking about 5 vehicles, but then there are more than 5 vehicles described. So can you walk us through that a little bit?
Well, part of it I just say, as I'm sure everybody sitting in this room knows, cars are expensive.
I'm sorry?
Cars are expensive. And the costs for them have gone up dramatically in the last 2 years. Parts costs have not only gone up dramatically, but trying to get a part is a challenge. I tell everybody the story of my poor friends whose car died right after July 4th, I think it was like July 6th, and they literally didn't get it back until October because of waiting on a part. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8, 6 vehicles. And the pickup trucks, which are what we use during the summertime because we get so many of the road jobs. And again, that's really just a benefit to the town because it does mean we get to bill our construction companies for the cost, for the usage of those vehicles as well.
So you're not asking for a construction van, am I right about that? That was last year. Okay. And are you only looking for the Jeep Grand Cherokee down at the bottom for $46,352?
Right.
So if you add the 6 vehicles that are under requested, those amounts, that equals the 46,000.
Gotcha. I see. Thank you. So why does it come to a proposed number of 71,000?
It also includes the 2 pickup trucks at 24 and change.
Oh, okay, I get it.
And again, that's just cost going up.
Thank you. Oh, one last thing, what is the difference between e-ticket and e-citation?
E-ticket is the electronic motor vehicle tickets. E-citation is what we call the short form complaint summons. So disorderly persons, petty disorderly persons, we can put that on there and not necessarily have to physically arrest and bring someone into headquarters to give them the bigger version of that piece of paper. That's also then what I stated could be used by other departments. So things like the snow tickets, the leaf tickets, those can all be written on that short form complaint summons.
E-citation.
E-citation.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anything else on operating? No. Okay, so we'll go to capital.
So the first I actually want to bring up about capital is the security and access control. I see that that was cut, but that means we get no new cameras or access points or anything for the next year. What's in operating is for the maintenance of and our contracts. In the capital is for new requests. So I'm tempted to say there was some sort of a miscommunication that occurred between that, because if we don't have any money in that budget line, it means we're getting nothing.
So just on your request was how much? Let me just see.
50,000. And again,
I see.
that's not just our department, it's because we do get requests from a lot of other
Right, so those
departments.
two are connected between operating and cap, right?
Yes.
Right, so one goes in hand, so maybe, did somebody not realize that when they yanked that out?
They've been an oversight on our part. We may have concluded that some of this money may have been over in operating, so I'll put it back in the final version I sent to council for
Or we could
consideration.
Or we could just take the other side out.
No, you have to have the other
because they don't
side.
replace each other, then we're still in trouble.
Just kidding, it was just.
Now, the other side's the maintenance of it.
I wish it was that easy.
I understood, I got it, trust me. Understood. Okay. Okay. Anyone questions on,
Yeah, what is security access control?
So that is all of our cameras and door locks and alarm system throughout not only Village Hall, but the other village facilities as well.
Okay, and what are you asking for? Not how much money, but what specifically?
So I can't necessarily answer your question,
Okay,
because that 50,000 covers not only our department, but if Parks and Recs thinks they need an additional camera at the skate park, it would still come out of that $50,000 budget.
got it. Does any of that include better camera equipment for the parking deck?
As needed, yes, if we needed to. So what we've done some of it in the past. We've actually purchased a better camera for a location that needs a better camera.
Right.
And not that any of the cameras are bad, but we put maybe a lesser quality camera at a facility that may not need as high tech.
Right. So, but what I'm saying is, in this $50,000 that you asked for, you're looking for specific cameras for specific places. And I'm just curious if one of those specific places is an upgrade or addition of cameras at the parking deck to deal with the issues that we have there.
So I know we've upgraded the cameras at the parking deck.
Yeah, we did.
We just addressed that last year, and we did an upgrade to about a third of the cameras in the parking garage. So where we've found problem spots, we've addressed that. So we don't have any plans in the garage right now. We certainly have some plans in other sites. And then, of course, things pop up all year. You know,
Right.
so we're planning for that also.
So-
We've already seen our pattern of how much we get asked for from other departments. That's kind of what we're planning on.
Right. Right now, though, with the parking deck, you feel that your camera coverage is adequate to be able to deal with some of the issues that we've had there since its construction.
Yeah.
Yes.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm just wondering what the, there's an item that was removed, parking garage storage. Am I
That was cut down.
No, I know, I was just wanting to know what it was.
The original estimate, we thought was a little high, because we've put some shelving up there already.
Okay,
So in the conversation, we reduced it to what we think is more practical.
okay.
Is that the Hudson Street garage?
Yes.
And if we own it, well, what's being stored there now? Anything?
So we have, under the ramps,
Maybe we can't talk about it. Okay, fine. All right. If it's already owned by the village, do we have to charge for it? for
It's
storage?
to get the necessary things like fencing and shelving,
Oh,
et cetera.
okay. There's portable radios listed here, and there's radio upgrades. Are they different types of radios?
Yeah, so portable radios are what the officers carry with them, are the ones that are in the vehicles. Radio upgrades is for the radio infrastructure. So that's the bigger project
Oh.
that I was referring to.
I see.
And again, they go hand in hand, but they are two distinct things.
Gotcha. You mentioned office furniture, and that has been cut down, but Ridgewood Water will be moving out of this building, and they're not taking any of their furniture with them. Would you consider any of their furniture?
I'm more than willing to look at it. Much of what we have was purchased after Hurricane Floyd in 1999 and came with us from Garber Square. Anything else, kind of like the water department, was probably purchased when they moved in here 14 years ago. So, like everything else, things have changed. The way we use our computers have changed, so the setup of facilities has changed. So I'm always willing to look. We get other departments that post it, that say, hey, they're moving out of blah, blah, blah. I send somebody over and go, what can we go grab from that that's better than ours because ours is so old?
With regard to the dash cams, the in-car cameras,
Yes.
what is the life expectancy of the ones you are thinking of buying?
So that is right, they have the same 5-year program that is replacing every couple of years with their program.
Yeah, so the cameras that we're having now are past their life expectancy, about 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
So bubblegum tape is what's holding them together right now. This new system is actually going to be married up to the Axon body cameras, so it'll be one universal system for everything. And we would be able to get a 5-year contract for this equipment, and at the end of the 5th year, if you renew, they actually replace all the equipment. So that's kind of the plan on that. This also saves us from having to run your redaction on one program and then completely starting over again on another program.
Because of the way these all talk, you can kind of run some things simultaneously, which makes things easier.
With regard to the vehicles for purchase, what kind of vehicles?
I am not a car person, so I let my car guy answer that.
So this year, we're going to replace the oldest cars that are still in use in our fleet, so that would be Explorers. So we'd be replacing Explorers with Explorers.
Do they come in a hybrid format?
So unfortunately, we missed the cutoff to order the hybrids this year. So we can only order gas. This was a new ordering pattern. We were expecting the ordering to be able to go through May, and they already cut off the hybrid, which means they probably extended all the batteries that they have. So next year, we're definitely going to plan on trying to get our hands on one or two of them before this gets cut off.
And I just wanted to mention too, Streets is going to get a Tahoe, I believe, that's a hybrid. And they're going to test it out, and Chris is going to test it out and have the police department test it out. And then we'll see, you know, how they work. And so possibly for the administration vehicles, next year, that's what we'll go for.
Thank you.
But that also requires that, well, the build out, the infrastructure to do that, so that there's a,
True.
you know, big cost in that too.
Not EV. We're talking hybrid, right?
Hybrid, but don't you still need electric?
Only
The
if it's a
hybrids-
plug-in.
The hybrids charge themselves when they're running. So as you're driving down the highway and the engine's working a little
Oh,
bit.
it's recycling itself?
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Because I know that the EV charging stations are a problem in the
Right,
floodplain.
got it, okay. Anything else?
Okay, is that it?
Any other questions? Okay.
Okay, thank you very much.
I would like to
Thank you.
thank you all for your time this evening.
Thank you.
We'll take a short break. I think the next person will be here at 6.
Yeah, just, can we
Sure.
just get everyone's summaries from all the department heads emailed in a PDF? So the summary that Jackie had, her opening comments, we don't have those, right? We used to put those in like bullet points years ago.
Like the accomplishments and the goals.
Yeah, I just think it's kind of nice to have it, a copy of Jackie's comments and last night everyone else. It's just kind of helpful.
I'll ask all the department heads to do it.
Okay, I
That's
don't know if
fine.
anyone else agrees. I just think it's helpful sometimes to go back and reread.
Sure.
Okay, thanks. Okay,
Thanks, guys.
We're
Take care.
taking
Grab some pizza on the way out.
Thank you. All right, so we're on a 15, 16-minute break. So we can shut our cameras off for 16 minutes, and so we'll take a brief adjournment.
And who's the first one to get the pizza? With no shame.
Is that silver pole that you see?
Yeah, it's like high up, but I think there's like a square type box or something on top of it, or a panel or
And it's not
something.
those red and white things that stand in the streets.
No, 'cause they're on top of a builder in like a high enough place and stuff. I guess they'd sense the static electricity in the air if it's coming and stuff
All right,
like that.
everyone, we're back. We're back.
And
We're
we're
going to call this meeting back to order, and we're going to do a quick roll call. I think everyone's still here, but we'll just do that.
Councilwoman Perrin?
Here.
Councilwoman Reynolds?
Here.
Deputy Mayor Seaton?
Here.
Councilman Vagianos? And Mayor Knudsen.
Here.
The next department we have is Office of Emergency Management. Jeremy Kleinman is our Emergency Management Coordinator.
Hello. Jeremy, just, that microphone's on, right, Jeremy?
Yeah, okay.
Good, thank you.
All right, so I'm just going to go over a few of OEM's accomplishments in 2021 and a couple of our goals for 2022. First and foremost, we successfully managed our PPE stockpile, including a variety of I'm sorry,
What kind of stockpile? I couldn't-
PPE, personal protective equipment, like
Oh.
the masks you're wearing and a whole bunch of other stuff. As you know, that's always been a challenge the last 2 years, sourcing those items, paying a reasonable price, and making sure that we have enough to protect our employees, particularly our public safety employees. So we restocked our PPE. We have an off-site storage unit. We were also able to purchase a number of rapid COVID tests for employees, and we're going to continue to do that. So we have those available. We also did our triennial update and recertification of our emergency operations plan. In case you don't know, every 3 years the state requires that our emergency operations plan be certified by the state police, and then it's forwarded on to FEMA, and that's important because it allows the village to be eligible for FEMA reimbursement when there's a nationally declared disaster, and it's kind of a big undertaking to update that document, which is about 1,300 pages. And so we were, I think, one of the first municipalities in the county to have that recertified this cycle. And in addition to that, we also partnered with Age Friendly Ridgewood to update our emergency preparedness guidebook, which is a document that we last published in 2013. So with their gracious support and help, we were able to update that and distribute those to residents. A couple of goals for 2022. We continue to try to find a new location for our Emergency Operations Center. If you don't know, we share a conference room in the police department that we use as our Emergency Operations Center in times of disaster. It's not ideal, that location, for a whole variety of reasons, and so we continue to try to find a better location in town and build that out. In addition to that, I'm planning on scheduling a series of regular emergency preparedness workshops for residents. We've done a number of these in the past. We put on a presentation and instruct people on how to shelter in place, how to have pack a go bag and be ready to evacuate, sustain themselves during times of emergency, and we plan on doing a series of those in the coming year. So, okay, should we turn to the budget?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
So the emergency management operating budget is flat this year, but for one item, and that relates to a maintenance contract for our lightning detection system. So if you don't know, we maintain the hardware and the software system for all of the ball fields in town, both on village property and on Board of Ed property. You know what that is, right? When there's lightning, the siren goes off and so on. This past summer, we had sort of an epic failure. We had about 4 sites in town that went down simultaneously, where the hardware just completely fried and crashed. And we had to get some emergency funding to be able to repair that. Obviously, you know the liability if the system's down and there's a lightning strike. So the vendor does offer an annual maintenance contract, so if anything goes down, they come in and fix it, replace the hardware, do the service call and so on. So that would all be covered. So that's really the only item that we added this year. Questions?
I have a question. The salaries went down from 77,000 or 93,000 to 0. Or am I misreading this?
Yeah, I'm not sure you're looking at the right budget.
Am I? I don't know. Let's see.
No, you're an emergency service.
Oh, I'm an emergency service.
OEM.
Thank you.
Yeah, we only went up $150 in
There you go.
salary.
Where is it?
OEM. It's probably like smack in the middle. Halfway.
Got it. I have no questions.
All right, any questions, Jeremy, anyone?
And
Good.
then your capital.
Yep, capital.
Yeah, there was one item of capital, and that's $38,000 for a surveillance camera trailer, although I don't like the word surveillance. So what we found, not this past summer, but I guess the summer before, when we had a series of demonstrations and protests and so on in town, the public safety directors were in our command post, and we realized that we did not have any visibility into what was going on out there. We didn't know if this became a safety issue. I've discussed it at length with the police chief. We didn't have any way of monitoring what was going on around us in the vehicle that we were in, and we also didn't have good visibility on different locations in town when that was happening. So this item is sort of looks like, if you will, one of the generator trailers, with the lighting on the ball field, and it has a telescoping like 30-foot tower with cameras on top of it. And this piece of equipment we can deploy anywhere. We can leave it uptown. We can leave it if there's something going on at Van Nest. We can use it to monitor, during 4th of July, whatever it may be. And it can be monitored remotely. So you just leave it out there. You can move it around, and both on a laptop or on an iPhone, the police department and myself can monitor what's going on out there. So really, that's what that is.
You mean you can move it, like your phone becomes like a...
Yeah, so they're pen tilt zoom cameras,
Okay.
sort of sit up high. The county has a number of these, and we've borrowed them in the past. They're not always available.
Right.
We've requested them a number of times, particularly on the 4th of July and the Memorial Day run.
Yep.
For different, spots on the route, when there were some security concerns and so on. So, so that's really what it is. We can move it around, and yeah, you can, it's pretty
So
flexible.
do I understand correctly that you would borrow the camera part of this from the county? And then,
No. What I'm suggesting is that the county has some of this equipment. The problem with borrowing equipment from the county is you can only get it when it's available. And, on big events, whatever it may be, everyone needs it at the same time. So for example, a different example, we for several years borrowed trailers full of water-filled barricades for the 4th of July parade and so on. Problem is, you have 8 municipalities in Bergen County that want to borrow the stuff on the same day. So, and it got to the point where the stuff wasn't available. So a few years ago, we purchased our own. So that's what I'd like to start to do, so we're not reliant on, the availability of the county's equipment.
So this 38,000 is for camera and trailer?
Yes, it's all encompassing, right? So, and there are a couple different models. There's one that's solar powered. There are others that are, diesel generator powered.
Last year, I believe it was the police department purchased drones, didn't we?
Did they?
And do they serve this purpose?
Partially, right? So the difference is that a drone needs an operator, okay? And it also has limited battery power, as I understand it. So this is the kind of thing, for example, that if there's some event and there's some intelligence that there might be some issue, we can just deploy it, and it can be monitored by the police supervisor or whatever. You don't need a dedicated person to pay to operate the drone for 8 hours. Right?
And the person also has to be licensed for the drone?
Correct.
Okay. Mhm.
Yeah.
Does this have night vision capability?
Yes.
So I'm thinking like for the 4th of July celebration in the evening, for example, you could use this.
Yes.
Okay. Interesting. Okay, any other questions? All
Good.
right.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks,
Appreciate
Jeremy.
it. Okay, the next person should be here very soon. I said 6:15, so they're on their way, probably.
Should have told everybody to come early.
And who is that?
It'll be Tony Merlino. Correct.
We're waiting for Tony? We're waiting for Tony? Oh. So, all right, I guess we'll just.
Sorry, I didn't get the memo.
Within a half an hour, she sent me one.
All right.
Hello. How are you? Good, how are you?
Hi, Tony.
How you doing, Tony?
Good, you?
I'm good, thanks. Good to see you. Good to see you.
Hello.
Okay, so our next presentation is from Tony Merlino, who's our Director of the Building Department. So Tony will start with your accomplishments and goals, and then we'll go to your regular budget, and then if you have anything for capital, we'll go there.
Well, as always, trying to keep the building department running smoothly.
Is that microphone on?
It's on, if you could, you gotta get close to it.
Yeah, I
because
guess so.
the-
Have a
yeah.
mask on too,
Yep,
so.
all of us.
Yeah, it's trying to keep things running smoothly. We have recently fulfilled our goal of getting plumbing inspectors. We were down on inspectors for a while. We have filled positions, so we're good on keeping up with rough inspections. Rough ones are the important ones, meaning not the finals. You know, the progress inspections. So we're in good shape with those. I have the initiative now of cleaning up files. Our office is packed with boxes of files. We have a storage facility in Glen Rock, so that's going to take a while, but I'm working also on that, rearranging our office. We're moving permits fairly quickly. We're putting commercial applications more towards the top of the piles so we can get those permits out the door. Because things take a while, you know, through the review process. So we put those ahead, knowing the issues downtown and what it's like to redo a store or a tenant's fit out. So, again, I'm just trying to make that place run smoothly. It's very busy down there, so, but it's working out. It's working out well. Any questions about?
So you want to go over your budget, your operating budget?
I didn't change it. This is the first one in about 7 years I've had to present. It's been a while since I was presenting budgets. I didn't change it very much from what was presented last year, because I thought it worked, and I think it'll work again this year. Naturally, things like, well, you know, salary and wages, those things I don't control, but nothing much really has changed. I was hoping that it's going to be a simple one for you. Our revenue, our permit revenue, takes care of our department. which it's meant to do. And so I think that part of it's working. We're not in the red. Now, other questions about any of the numbers? Like I said, I didn't change much. I kept it pretty much the same as it was last year. It worked last year, so. Well, the last year, actually, there was a request for a vehicle last year, and it was approved. And that was taken out. Didn't need that for this year. But again, I'm open to any questions that you may have. If you look at it and you compare it to last year, it's pretty much the same.
Tony, you basically have a flat budget from last year, and the only significant change is in your part-time staffing, which is because you hired 3 part-time inspectors that I know you desperately needed. So, that's something that I can't see anybody having any objection to. So, and I, for one, am very happy to see you get those part-time inspectors that I know were difficult to get. So,
Yes.
I think it looks pretty solid.
Good, thank you. That's what I mentioned before, plumbing. Those are the 3. Actually, one gentleman only works 1 day a week because he has other obligations. The other 2 are exactly how it had been for many years. 2 other part-timers, I guess average 15 to 18 hours a week. That's not going to change. You'll see 1 more, but that's the gentleman that only works the 1 day, so. We're kind of still keeping in the way it's been for a bunch of years. We always had to. We always had two part-time plumbing inspectors. And now it's 2 and then the 1 for 1 day, so.
Yeah, I have to say, I'm so grateful to see this and to know that we have that staffing levels to where they should be. One of the complaints or concerns that have been raised all along has been the, having the need to fill those positions to expedite all of these inspections. So I think it's, it's a self-funding department. You're covering yourself and you're not in the red, and that's good.
Yes.
I do want to mention that Tony, Tracy Jeffrey, and I met with the landlords virtually a couple of weeks ago, and it went very well. They had some questions for us and some things that, they thought maybe we could do better, and we explained to them, what the process is. And I know that Tony mentioned he may do some seminars, just learning seminars here for both residential and commercial businesses, and also possibly do a video or something to explain the process and then we could embed it in the website for building department. So we're going to work with Stacy Sapasaris, because she has connections with Ridgewood High School for Ridgewood TV, and so they do filming, so that possibly we can do that. So Tony's going to be a star.
I was volunteered for that one.
You were, but you'll do.
After we moved in here, back into Village Hall in 2005, I did some seminars right in this room here, and they always worked out well. It was mostly for residents, and I'd like to do that again, but this the public service announcement, whatever it's going to turn out to be, I'm ready to do that too, because, and we get calls all day long with questions about what do I need, what do I have to submit to you, and how the process works and all. And this way, it'll be out there. You can look at it and see it. I don't know how good a star I'm going to be, Heather, but.
Mm-hmm. Well, we also made them aware of the SDL portal, where they can go in and see what approvals have been given, what inspection results are, and so that's important too. So the landlords are aware of that now. And again, I think it would be beneficial for him to be doing both commercial and residential, and it would be beneficial. So, and I know he's ready to do it because he's a teacher at Bergen Community, so he's well versed in what he's doing.
So Tony, just one other question. I know that we continue to have occasional commentary about new businesses getting opened, getting everything completed in time, but I think that that seems to have improved of late. Do you agree?
I think so. Again, being able to be more expeditious, getting out there to do those inspections has helped in the last, I want to say 5 or 6 months. And putting the commercial applications ahead of the pack, just so that, you know, because, and I can think, as Paul explained, someone mentioned it at our Zoom meeting, that there's a period when people start to pay rent, and if they're not open for business and they're not making revenue, I know that's an issue. So we're trying to do that, you know, and it's not that big a deal. It's just some people wait a little bit more than they would have had we not put a commercial one ahead of them, but it's not that big a deal, really, and it's very helpful. There's things, though, that there's points I'd like to get across to commercial, not so much building owners, but tenants who are opening businesses on what they really need to do. They have to pay more attention to the process and their contractors and things like that, because that's a problem. We fail something because it has to fail, and, you know, we become the bad guys. But, you know, you made changes. You can't just make changes, and that's what's
Right.
going on. They're making changes. We go in, the changes might not be code compliant. Now we have to stop. You have to get revisions. You have to, you know, there's another process to go through. It's almost like doing the whole thing all over again, the review. So, and again, we put those to the top. We get those out. But that's been a problem where there are changes that are being made. You know what, let's just do it this way instead of that way. No one thinks to come to us to see if it's going to work code-wise, and sometimes it doesn't. And if they do it ahead of time and we get the change ahead of time, that's very helpful. Otherwise, if we go, then we see the change, now we have to stop you. And you know, you're going to have to make revisions, get the revisions made and whatever else. Well, that's part of the education I'd like to get out there.
Yeah.
You know, we'll help best we can, but you gotta help us too, you know?
Right. Great.
I have a question about the building capital budget. There are just 2 Ford Escapes listed.
It's from last year.
Am I looking in the right place?
I think it's last year.
Oh, that was last
Yeah.
year. No
I
wonder
think,
it's not
yeah,
alphabetical.
Last
Okay,
year's
fine.
budget, there were 2 requests, or a request for 2 cars. Council approved 1.
Okay. Any other questions for Anthony?
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Tony.
Thank you.
Okay.
I want to say that without, you know, Bob and Heather are very helpful.
Aw, thank
Very helpful for us.
Yay.
No, really,
Thank you.
because I've had problems in the past presenting the budget, and mainly because my budget would get changed. By the time I got here, it would get changed from what I presented, and I would sit here in a stupor, not knowing what the heck to do. But it's been a very smooth go at it now that I'm doing it again. So thank you.
Thank
Nice to have you back.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Tony.
Hi, Tony.
Okay. Our next department is the library. So, come on up. So we have Nancy Green, our library director, and Ray Shinizuka, who's on the library board.
Hi, Nancy.
Hello.
Okay, can you hear me? Is this?
Yep.
Okay. All right, thank you for this opportunity tonight. As Heather mentioned, we have our library board treasurer, Ray Shinzuka, and our library board president, Gail Campbell, our new business manager, Alex Wasenda, and our assistant director, Lori Steinbacher. So we're all happy to help or answer any questions. I think it's good to note that now that we're back open again, we average about 10,000 visitors a month, which, you know, had seemed like we were never going to see that level again. So that's one of our biggest highlights, I think. We were open in 2021, 343 days out of the year. We won $46,000 in grants last year because there was a lot of federal and state money that was available to help post-COVID. So those grants will enable us to create a new website. We're going to start a library podcast series. We have new equipment for that we can share with everybody. We can now lend laptops and iPads and Apple Pencils. And we had programs to support community mental health. We remain number one in the state for cultural and educational events. We hosted in 2021 more than 3,400 cultural and educational events for groups and individuals, and we had close to 36,000 participants. Now that includes ESL, story times, computer classes, all of that. And in terms of volunteer hours, our staff mentored teens and adults, and we had more than 3,000 volunteer hours last year. New services, we started up something called the Library of Things, which I believe Janice Furman came and talked to you about, where we can now lend hotspots in case your internet goes out or you're going on vacation someplace remote, drills, levels, all kinds of equipment that you can try before you buy, or maybe you're just doing a one-time project. So we've got the Library of Things going. And we're now also doing hybrid simulcasts, where with some of our programs, as you do with council meetings, we do it a combination of live and remote, so that people can be present and people can also attend virtually. On any given day, we lend more than 1,000 books or movies or CDs, and we answer close to 300 questions. So that's still, a big part of us. This is kind of interesting. We still have public computers that people can come in and use, desktops, and we have about 60 uses of the public computers every day. So it's so good to be back open and able to serve people again. This is good news, I think. Within the 78 Buckles libraries, we are among the very highest in usage, and within the top 10, we're at the bottom in terms of cost. We're number one in digital book and media circulation, children and teen book circulation, and reference questions answered. We're in the top 3 for overall books and for public service hours, and we're down to around the 10th for the cost of the staff, the municipal allocation to the library, and the cost per circulating item. Looking ahead to 2022, our primary, well, we have a couple primary goals, I guess. One of the main things is to stabilize our financial situation. As you know, we've been without a tenant at Peace for most of the year, and we're working hard to remedy that. We have a couple possibilities right now that we'll be discussing at the library board meeting next week, so I hope to have good news on that, but that's been something of a loss. So we're working on that, and we are always pursuing additional grant funds. We're going to be also with the building hopefully tackling some deferred maintenance items. When we were applying for the grant for the Reimagine project, that encompassed major things like HVAC and roof, and we were stalled there for a few years because any work along those lines that we did would not be reimbursed. So we had to wait to do any kind of facility improvements, and we're hoping this year to tackle HVAC and to tackle a new roof, and also to plan hookup to the generator. Probably you all know that there's a generator being installed in the library service drive that's going to serve us and the water department, and we need to plan our own hookup to the generator, and it's a little more complicated for us because it's got to hook up to an existing system. We don't have the ability to have the system match the generator. The generator has to match our system. But we'll be working on that. Another trustee just came in, Rocco Orlando, God bless him, and he's working with me on a lot of the nuts and bolts there. And in terms of goals, also, it's to expand our community outreach. We had a lot of fun this year doing pop-up libraries at events in town. We want to do more of that. We want to try doing it at sports events. We want to get ourselves out there where maybe some of the library non-users are and give them library cards and encourage them to come in. And we're also going around to the homes of all the new people in town and bringing them a Love Your Library welcome bag. So those are being delivered with the help of the trustees and the Friends of the Library. All right, that is the year ahead and the year behind in brief. And now, Ray, it will give you an overview of our budget.
Thank you very much. Am I audible?
Gotta speak a little
Is that, just tap it, Ray. Tap, you're good. Sounds
Yeah,
good.
Ray, you have to get really close to it. We've all gotten used to this.
Go
From-
inside.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Nancy. And thanks to the honorable members of the council for giving us the opportunity to present
Here, Ray.
the.
Ray, we just
Here,
can't.
Ray, you want to trade seats? Maybe this
Yeah,
one is
actually, that's a
easier.
good idea. Get Nancy out of the hot seat. There we go.
Thank you to the committee for this opportunity. I'm going to talk about the operating budget, and I believe that Nancy will follow and discuss the capital budget. So if you have that sheet in front of you, there's, I think there's really eight points I wanted to highlight about this. The first at the top is that we are requesting an increase in the village appropriation that amounts to $57,336. It is the first increase that has been requested since 2016, and I think we will, as we go down through the other items, we'll sort of see where that's going and the rationale behind that request. I think management, Nancy's done an amazing job working within the constraints of the existing budget. It's this year, as we'll see, is a little different in some sense. The second point, and I think it's one of the pivotal ones, is the Peace Lease. So you'll see that is effectively, it is proposed that the net operating income, or the income that is net of expenses, given that one of the tenants is no longer there, is projected at zero. And there continue to be some maintenance on that, as well as work to prepare for one of the winning tenant, who we hope will come in. And reviewing some of these, it's also clear that many of these, there's some upfront costs. There are potentially concessions with regard to rents in the early part, and so we felt, all in all, that it will be a break-even proposition. Now, this is really significant. Now, when you look at the year over year, you'll see it's 65 goes to zero. But when you look back and you really look at, because remember, that 65 was more than half the year. We did not have one of the tenants. And so when you look back, the 5-year average for Peace is about $108,000. Now, when you consider that the budget outside of the village appropriation is about something like $180,000. You sort of see the magnitude of, this gap of peace. And so many of the items that we'll be talking about will be how do we fill this gap? So the third item is the reserve withdrawals. So that's something that's not traditionally done in a budget year, and so that is effectively these are non-recurring monies. They are bequests. They are funds that the bank is holding, and so we're looking to use $58,000 of that. So that provides some level of offset. And then moving down, when we look at the prior year carry forward, that amount is down, unfortunately, and it's like things all seem to have 50,000 handles, plus 50, minus 50, plus 50. And this is down $54,000. And part of that is because 2021 was also a challenging year. We had half of the rent from Peace. So this is a sort of a follow-on to that. And then when you get the fifth point that I'll bring is when you look at the total revenues, you will see that it's overall, it's unchanged. We worked it to try to maintain the same overall budget despite some of the shocks to funding. And then moving on to expenditures, you'll see that the sixth item is really, it's staffing. So it's salaries plus benefits. There is an increase there. The plan is that two of the part-time employees will be are planning to convert them to full-time employees, bringing the current staff, which is 12 full-time, to 14. And just for context, I went back 10 years, and 10 years ago there were 21 full-time staff. So there has been a period of attrition. So the staff has been getting smaller every year, and so this is just this is sort of starting to right-size it. And also these are highly qualified individuals. They have they've gotten their masters. They're quality hires. They really make sense to retain, to keep, and to allow the the library to do what it does. And my seventh and eighth points are books, media, and 8 is technology. These are being reduced in the plan, and it's very, it's with a great deal of regret. It is, however, these virtually are the only discretionary items in the budget that can be adjusted, there's, I think if depending on how the situation does develop, these numbers can be brought closer to last year's budget, but effectively, these were just needed. There had to be some sacrifice to effectively to balance the budget, and again, the expenditures year over year is largely unchanged. So that was the points I wanted to cover. There may be some other questions, so I invite the members of the council to pose any.
Thanks, Ray. Okay, questions, everyone?
I'm good. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Nancy, are you gonna come back here? You don't need a microphone.
I just don't think it sounds like it. Why don't you just swap seats again with Ray? Or actually, Nancy, why don't we also just check that other microphone there? Maybe that one's working.
Oh, try this.
It doesn't sound very loud, right? No.
This one doesn't seem very
Now,
loud.
that's working when you put it right up next to your
Right,
mouth.
okay.
So
All right.
just sit over there, just move over back to that stationary microphone. That's better, we like having you close.
Okay, all right, thank you. Well, I barely need a microphone from my years on the stage, of course, but I'll use it for posterity so Dylan can record all of this. Well, we have some typical requests for help from the village for technology and stuff. Let me just go down in the same order that you have it. The first thing that you see is for snow rails for the slate roof. We had a snow slide last year that cost us about $20,000 in damages, and we hope that the installation of the snow rails will prevent further damage like that. The next thing that we have is the restoration, actually, of the Maple Avenue entrance. And as you look at the front of the library, much like the front of Village Hall, they look really weather beaten. And we need to, we've been talking with Bob also about whether it's better to wrap the columns in vinyl in some way or to paint them, but our wood, the fascia is all peeling away. Our Golden Eagle needs regilding, so we have a request in for that. And before I go to the money for renovation, let me just go down and say for network equipment, that $15,000, that's really for communication systems. We need a whole new telephone network system to be installed, so that's to cover that. And the generator design is the cost for engineering work to plan the connection to the generator for all of the library's existing systems. That's not the actual work of connecting it, that's creating the plan to connect it. And then the next one is going to be the most popular of all of these. It's the ADA compliant water cooler where people can fill their water bottles. We have a lot of people that come off the field, and we don't use our water fountain anymore because of COVID, so now people can fill their water bottles. Within the $750,000 that you see for renovation, we are going to be using funds from that amount for HVAC. We over the last, I guess, 10 years, we have replaced the library HVAC system was done in 1998, and all of the units were past their useful life. In the last 10 years, we have been able to replace the 3 rooftop units, but the largest units are the split units, where a portion is outside the building and a portion is inside the building. So some of that funds will help to cover the cost of dismantling those old units, getting them out of the building, and installing new, more efficient units. And we also have money in there to do a new flat roof and to do any kind of repairs that's needed for the shingles and around the cupola. So that's what that money would support. The end.
Okay.
And I would like to just say a word of thanks to Heather and to Bob Rooney, and echo what Tony Merlino said. So helpful. We're very, very lucky to have such a great team here. So thank you.
All right, now, questions?
Nothing. Thank you.
Michael is good. Pam?
Nancy, I have a question. So last year, there was like 725,000 or 750,000 in the budget? What was that used for?
Okay, that was not used yet. We had approached the council, I believe in 2020. Oh, well, let me back up a little. I don't want to go over my time and get in trouble with Heather. I'm in her good graces at the moment. We had planned, as you might know, a major renovation of the entire interior of the library. And the funding for the plan, as we had presented it to the town, was close to $7 million. And we had applied for state funding that would have covered 50% of that cost. We've been doing private fundraising. We have a capital campaign committee that met again last night. And in 2020, the village had appropriated up to $1,450,000, I think, towards the cost of the project to be paid when the grant, money was due. Well, now there is no grant. We have to. We're developing a more focused plan where we're going to be using hopefully municipal support to take care of all of the deferred maintenance and the practical aspects. And we plan to do private fundraising to do what I would consider to be improvements, like maybe to shift rooms around and new furnishings. And, hopefully I still would like to see us be able to do an interior staircase that would improve access to the entire library. So the village needed some of that money that was appropriated, that $1,450,000, a couple of years ago. So the village drew down upon that, and what remains in there is $725,000.
How much have you guys raised privately?
Well, our primary benefactor at this point is the David F. Bolger Trust, which dedicated pledged $1 million to the project. The foundation itself has an endowment, and we've discussed significant gift from that, hopefully in the area of about $500,000. We have some pledges that come close to about $500,000, I think, but we've got to go back to all those people because our plan is going to be different.
Right.
And try to renew or sustain their enthusiasm for the project and find more people that will want to engage with us.
Do you have any plans on, doing a public outreach?
Well, the way it's done is you do what's called a quiet campaign first. You reach out to the people who are the most likely to give you big gifts, and you assemble some major gifts, and then it's like a pyramid, and then you go to the next level. So a lot of it is private asks at the outset. You don't want to send out a town-wide appeal and have somebody that could give you $500,000 give you $5,000 and say, well, I already gave. So the town-wide appeal comes at the very end.
Okay. Thank you.
Of course.
Any other questions? Well, that was painless.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
We appreciate it.
Thanks, everyone. Who's up next?
No? No.
Let me just,
So the next one we're going to do is emergency services.
Okay.
We have Brian Tabaria here, who's the Chief of Emergency Services.
Can I just
Good evening.
Good evening.
I apologize, I'm coming from another job, so I'm a little out of sorts, but it's all good.
Glad to have you.
All right, so where would you like to begin?
You can start with achievements from 2021, and then goals for 2022, and then we'll go to operating and capital.
Well, I mean, I'll say, the first achievement, obviously, that we're most proud of is being able to, keep the services up while keeping everybody healthy, right? So, as we know, right, we're in a second and a half year of what has been the pandemic of the century, it seems, right? And we were able to ensure that through our practices, procedures, and policies, that all of our folks going out on any of our calls, interacting with patients or the public, we're able to keep themselves healthy. So, I mean, obviously, number one is keeping our guys and girls healthy, and number two, right, is still being able to go out and make the mission and make the calls. So that's the thing we're obviously most proud of, that we were able to continue to do for another year. On the accomplishment side of things, besides personnel and still being able to operate, we were able to bring in additional volunteers throughout the year. We do have at the moment, probably count towards this year, but we do have a number of folks in the EMT training class at the moment. So we're going to be bringing on board, if they do all graduate successfully, there's 6 folks. We do have a full set of nights of the week with probationary members, so new members coming on board right now. So we are seeing continued interest and involvement from the community, which is good. With that, one of the biggest things I get out of this, on that note, is right where the people go from here. So as you all know, a lot of our policemen, a lot of our firemen have come through this program. So while we also provide the mission to the village, the mentorship that we give the new members, young and old, goes on to help them way beyond what they give back to us, which is a big thing. Budget-wise, it was a little bit all over the map, but we were struggling with supply chain issues, as everybody has been. So some of our product was ordered and not received. So we were a little under on a number of accounts, but that product will eventually show up. We were able to sustain our supplies for medical and other consumables through assistance from the county, from OEM, and some other sources. So there was never an issue of not having supplies, but it has certainly impacted some of our projects from the previous year. Some of our equipment that we ordered on capital, like our radios we ordered, it's a 16-week delivery. So once you get on the list, and then after they process it, things, because it's computer chip related, the same with some of our other items, defibrillators and so on. It's a long lead time for a lot of these things still. But we're getting to the end of that. Things are getting a little bit better. So we are going to see a lot of that finish up in the first quarter here. Stuff comes in the door, which will be good. And then obviously we're hoping, as projected by everybody, that things are continuing to improve. So that will help us going into 22 for sure. I don't know if anybody has any questions directly related to last year. I can certainly entertain those or answer those for you. If not, the operating budget is generally flat from last year. There was a minor increase in materials and supplies. As we all know, everything continues to increase in price. Nothing ever gets cheaper. Medications are also included in that. So we do carry oxygen, epinephrine. We do get our naloxone for free at the moment. We're carrying albuterol for breathing treatments. None of those things, unfortunately, ever go down in price. And as we know, epinephrine is the biggest hit there per dose, but is also one of the quickest things to see. If you've ever seen an active administration to see a save a life, it is very impressive. So it is something that we need to have on the truck. So those are the, minor increase there, but everything else remained flat. We took a little bit out just because of what we were spending on the stipends, because historically we hadn't been hitting the number, so it didn't make sense to keep it at the number that it was, so that came down a hair. But otherwise, everything else is the same.
Okay.
I have a couple questions.
Sure.
So, and this is something I was looking at before in the wrong department. Your part-time wages last year were about $94,000, and this year they are $0.
Well, as we know, they, during last year, after the budgets were prepared, they did change how daytime EMS operations were being run.
So that's all been moved to fire.
So daytime per diem EMTs are no longer being utilized from the Department of Emergency Services at the moment. So therefore, obviously, we're not paying the hourly wage for those per diems during the Monday to Friday 6 to 7. So 6 a.m., 7 p.m.
Got it, and that's what I thought it was. Next question, under maintenance of other equipment, it shows in the summary sheet an increase of about $10,000, but the support sheet shows it even. There's a typo in one of them, so I'm going to gather that it's the same?
We did not change the number.
That's what I thought, thank you. And I have a question for Bob on the next two line items, other contractual services and materials and supplies. The support sheets for those show that you made an adjustment, correction to be made to S&W. One is for $30,000 and one is for $45,000. What is that?
Bob, adjustments you see are usually the result of last year's budget modifications or adjustments to reduce the budget. So I would go in after consulting with the department heads and determine that in this situation, based upon what the spend was, in the prior year, it looked like we could cut this, so we agreed that we would take this out of the budget. So that anytime you see Bob adjustment, that's usually what it means.
Got it, thank you very much.
Anyone else? Questions? Okay. We're gonna
And go over your capital budget.
Capital.
Okay, so we had, as usual, in most departments, right, we have a number of things we'd like to do that we feel will help grow the department, protect the village, and keep everybody safe. As I mentioned in the previous years, we do manage and maintain all of the village's defibrillators, both in emergency vehicles and in public access. So those defibrillators do have a definitive shelf life, which we are quickly passing for most of the ones that are in the public access situations. So every year for the next 4 more years, 3 more years, including this year, we're looking to replace defibrillators as sets of 10 as we can get supply, so that we can put those in the first due apparatus, police and fire, EMS, and then take those, roll them down to public access, and then surplus and trade in the units that are the oldest. The newer units, obviously, we have benefits of different pads, better computers. They're more likely to notice different rhythms and shock better. The batteries last longer. We have diagnostics over Wi-Fi or Bluetooth, so it's, advancements have come in the last 15 years when some of these units have been put into service. So that's just an ongoing maintenance item that we're trying to complete. Obviously, we don't want to go in and replace everything in 1 year because that would be a little bit out of control. So we think we can do it in piecemeal and then get the units rolled down so that we're never looking at a big chunk of replacements all at once. So things would age, obviously not as they have, because there's a huge number of them right now that are about the same age. This will help us project in the future, so we're always rolling down again when we have to replace, so it's not ever a big spend. The next one you see there is replacement of suction units. The suction units that are on the ambulances and in service now were in service when I joined the department. I joined the department on the ambulance in '96. That company has been purchased, and then the units have been taken out of production several years ago. They no longer are making replacement parts or consumable parts for the units we have. We've been using consumable parts we've been getting from other agencies that have changed, and from backstock from our manufacturer, from our supplier of medical supplies, but those are obviously not being replenished. So we're looking to replace all of the units on the vehicles and the spares on the shelf so that we can have a suction unit that is supported by the manufacturer for both replacement parts and consumables. We're looking to purchase units that use the same canisters that are used in the units on the ambulances. So obviously there's only one SKU to keep on the shelf, so we're not storing multiple products on the shelf in the event we have to have a replacement done. So it's reduce our on-house stock, and it's easier for folks because it's the same units. So anytime you'd have a patient that, and I'll try not to be graphic, either passes out after choking or having some other, whether they vomit and they have vomitus in their mouth they cannot clear, it's basically like a small wet dry vac with a battery.
Thanks for not being graphic.
I'm sorry, I don't remember if you said anything. Oh, the polymer coating for the garage floors?
I haven't gotten down that far on the list, but
It's further up on our list.
okay. Yeah, the list I got from, I'm going down the order of the list I got last from Bob, but if obviously we can go in any order you'd like.
Go ahead, just
Last year, we had requested this item, and we didn't make the cut, obviously, for other projects and other departments on our own. The other half of our division of our department assists all of the village departments, police, fire, EMS, public works, streets, water, with any traffic issues that they have, be it on a local road, a highway, or otherwise. This unit is for a deployable, single-man deployable message sign for traffic, so it'd be vehicle mounted. We have the vehicle already, but we have more fancy units than this on other vehicles that allow for word displays, like you'd see on a highway or an interstate. Coming up to a construction scene, it tells you which lane's closed, which where to go, some information. We have them on the corner over here. Tell you like blood drives are coming up and whatnot. This is basic, so this is just chevrons and arrows, so lefts and rights. The benefit here, obviously, is one person can deploy it without leaving the vehicle, so that keeps them safe. It is obviously 8 feet above your head because it's mounted to the roof of the vehicle, and then itself is 2 feet above that. It gives advance warning for traffic, so we're able to keep traffic away from whatever incident happens to be going on, whether it's pre-planned construction, accidents, or other types of things that are going on. So we're still pushing for that because we think it helps responder safety in any department, but our own EMS as well as any planned work, events, and so on. Last year, as I mentioned, we replaced portable radios. This year, there is a line item in here to replace mobile radios. I'm sure you've heard this from a few other departments as well. But as we keep moving towards, yes?
Does somebody have a radio or TV or something on? Is that what I'm hearing?
Somewhere out in the...
Oh, sorry, I just
No worries.
wanted to pick up a, oh wait, we can't close the door.
I remember that, right?
Sorry, Ryan, you know what, I can hear this noise.
Sure,
and
sure.
It's like just distracting.
You're better ears
Sorry.
than me.
Go ahead, Ryan, sorry.
But last year, we did, amongst other departments in town, replace portable radios with multi-band, narrow-banded portable radios. As the FCC keeps changing the frequency requirements, where they're dedicating frequencies to, obviously, 5G cell service and moving around the bands for television, digital TV. They're also moving around business and emergency communications. So some of our radios don't support that. Right now we have digital capable multi-band radio, single-band radios in the vehicles now because police went to digital. So when they did that, we replaced one unit in every truck. This allows us to continue to replace the additional units in the mobile vehicle. So we'll do again another unit in every truck. Unfortunately, they're not exactly cheap. So we obviously aren't doing them all at once.
All right. Anyone?
Last year, we replaced, we had an item in which we're working through, which is building furniture and carpet. We did reduce that last year to do just furniture. We left the carpet. We had it cleaned in order to try to extend its life. The carpet's been in the building since we moved into that building. So it is showing a little bit of wear. So we're hoping to replace it, but obviously, it's not it's a nice to have, keeps the morale up. It's a little cleaner, but there aren't any holes or anything in the carpet. But if you ever want to come see it, I'll certainly give you a tour. You had mentioned you had a question. The next item there is replacement of garage floor coating. So we've been trying that for quite some time now. The building we're in was originally, the most recent was a classic vehicle repair shop and a warehouse. And they converted the building, the warehouse portion of the building, to a garage where the ambulances are stored, and the other half was garages already. They're bare concrete floors. They were painted when the building was renovated, when we moved in, and nothing has been done since. So what this is what you would see if you go across to the firehouse or to a lot of other agencies in the area, which is basically a plastic coating, so an epoxy coating with some hard pieces of plastic in it for grip that coats the concrete, levels the floor, and reduces the dust and makes it easy to clean. So nothing will sink into it. So if you spill something, it's not going to seep into the concrete like it does now. It's going to stay on the surface. You can clean it, sanitize it. You don't get the dust, and it doesn't lift because you may have seen, if you have painted floors in your garage at home, hot car tires do a number on paint on the floor. They're slightly warm when you bring them back after driving, and then when you park it on the floor, it takes the paint with it next time you drive away after time. So that doesn't allow the paint to stick, which is what we've seen. And then obviously normal use, wear and tear continues to remove it in the high traffic areas. So this is just to be able to coat, seal, and level the floors so that they wouldn't keep producing the dust and be easier to clean. Obviously, again, it's a maintenance of the building thing, not so much an operational thing. It's been that way for quite some time, and in a perfect world, I'd love to do all of these things and a few more. Understanding that we don't have an unlimited budget, right, and we have to able to spread the spend amongst all the departments. We know that at some point we'd like to get it done so that that we don't have a continued issue with the flooring. But if push comes to shove, for sure, that's not something that we would be fighting hard for, because we still do the mission with the floors being slightly dirty. We still hose them off, wipe them down, and so on. But that's what that is. And then the last one is just a projection there. We've been projecting this for years now, knowing that it would have to be replaced. I think I heard the fire department may have a similar ask, but was it got to be 5 years ago now, we replaced an engine in that unit, and it was overhauled, so we got more life out of it. And then obviously the standard lifespan of an ambulance, industry standard, is about 8 years. This type of unit is on a medium-duty chassis, so it has a longer lifespan. So we were projecting a replacement, obviously not for this year. We're just showing you, as we did every year, what we would expect to spend when it's due for replacement.
Okay, anyone?
Yeah, I have a question. A couple months ago, your guys took me on a little tour of some of the equipment that you had and some of the equipment that was on hand by the county during the Christmas tree celebration. And one of those vehicles that you had was like an ambulance and a gator type of vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
And they were telling me about this and saying that this was going to be requested, that this had been requested in the past, but I don't see it in your capital or operating budget.
No, it wouldn't be in this set of budget requests at the moment. That was requested in the past. The spend was not approved, so the project was put on hold.
Got it. Okay, thank you. They had informed me that it had been approved, but
Well, it was approved at the budgetary level, and it was not approved at the spend section of the process.
Got it. Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm, sure.
And one other question. I have no idea what polymer coating for garage floors would cost, but $45,000 seems like a lot of money for that.
Yeah, we had a company come in actually and quote the project several years back. The surface coating is the better part of a 1/4 inch or 3/8 of an inch thick, depending on how level the floor is. So they're not just coming in with like a paint roller and painting the floor. They're going to clean, acid wash the floor, and then they'll use a coating to level the surface so it all pitches towards the drains, and then they'll come back and coat the surface with various colors of an epoxy coating, so a plastic coating, and some of that will be quite thick in sections. And like the parking lines, right now they're tape or paint on the floor. They're actually colored, dyed epoxy coating, so they don't come off. And then obviously the rest of the flooring, like where you walk, is a different color than where you park. So it adds visual indicators for folks when they're bringing vehicles in or where they can and can't walk. So it's not just that they're coming in and painting the floor with a roller, but a whole lot more process going on with that. And the material itself is not a cheap product to purchase.
Got it. Thank you very much.
And just what is the square footage on that? Would you
I'm sorry,
say?
what?
The square footage.
I'd have to go back and look at the number from there. I mean, I can send you the email. I have the price quotes back in
Yeah,
the
no, I
desk.
thought maybe you would know, because it's pretty significant. That's why.
Yeah,
I'm
it is.
asking, 'cause I think it
There
helps.
are there's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, technically 9 garages. Two of
Oh,
them.
it is? Oh, I didn't realize it was 9
Two
garages.
of them are double deep, so there's 2 bays there, and then there's 4 on the one side and 1 at the top. So it's a lot of floor
that explains
space.
that explains a lot.
No,
And that's where
I
you
knew,
were
because
going.
I knew
Yep.
that it's huge, and so it's, when you look at the space that you're covering, it's significant.
Right, yeah, because
Everything
the
that-
one garage space is 4 vehicle parking spots plus storage, so it's not just the vehicle section, but it's the whole floor, wall to wall, end to end.
Yeah, no, that really did answer the question.
Sure. Yeah, the
here to
actual square
help.
footage number we do have from when they
No,
came in and
not
quoted it, but-
necessary.
Okay. Anything else? Anyone? Nope. Okay.
Thank you, Ryan.
Thanks,
Okay, I
Ryan.
appreciate your
Thank
time.
you.
You guys have a good night.
Thank you.
Okay, our next department is our health department, and we have Dawn Citrullo, who's our director of the health department, and our health officer.
Why don't we just give everyone a minute
Take a
to
brief
take a
break.
restroom break, if anyone? Sure. Oh.
Hi, Dawn. Good.
Hello, Dawn. We're just going to wait a minute. for-
Okay, so Dawn, just, I'll have you do achievements from last year, goals for this year, and then your operating budget.
Okay, you guys ready? Hello, it's nice to see everybody. So I like to do my goals for last year with the accomplishments that went along with them. My goal was to immunize 70% of the Ridgewood adult population, and we were able to, according to state records, the most recent information we received, we're at 98% of the adult population. I think it's a little over, because what happens is certain people that live in New York that come here, and there's, it's not always so accurate, but we're pretty good, and comparatively to other towns, we're up there and even better. So I'm very proud of that number. We connected over 40 Ridgewood homebound residents with COVID-19 vaccines, which was an important endeavor. And on that note, we also provided Valentine's Day cards for the homebound residents, and with the help of the civic youth group, as well as while we were doing our clinics with the kids, we had them make cards, and then they participated as well. So when we received phone calls from people, it meant a lot to them. So something as simple as a card. So very proud of that. We provided over 4,800 vaccines to Ridgewood residents, including seniors, teens, and children over the age of 5. 1,030 of them were in the age of 5 to 11 age group, and 3,812 were adults. Our goal was to continue contact tracing and case investigation within 24 hours, and that was accomplished. At one time, I had 9 contact tracers working on calls, and when the numbers came down, they dropped the staff, and I was down to 3, and then actually 2 of them were fired, so I was really down to 1, and we were Christmas Eve making calls, contact tracing, trying to keep up with those standards. So I was very, very happy. We have great staff. Everyone worked very hard. We managed, we got through this. I believe that we are on the flip side, and we are going towards the right direction. Another goal is to work closely with the schools to keep them open and minimize in-school transmission. I think we did a really great job with that. We communicated with the schools on a daily basis. I had a meeting with the superintendent and the wellness director once a week. It was, every day in the beginning, and now it's still once a week. I think we did a really good job with that. I think we're moving forward. As you know, the governor is lifting the mask mandate for March 7th, so that is our plan moving forward. We're still waiting for guidance from the state as to exceptions to that. For instance, on the buses, the kids will still need to wear the mask. But, once I have that information, we will get that out to the public. Another goal was to work closely with the businesses in the village to communicate information in a timely manner, including executive orders and their interpretation. We were very creative with our email lists. We worked with a lot of the organizations, Age Friendly, the newspaper, social media, our restaurant. We would use their emails and just trying to promote information, and I think we did a pretty good job with that. Another goal was to procurement and management of COVID-19 grants to obtain additional personnel, supplies, and equipment. So we have completed our first year of the grant, which was $142,000, and we're in the process of completing our second year of the grant, which was $291,000. We just submitted our letter of intent for the third year. It's unknown how much it is. They're hoping that it will be similar to this, to 291. So depending on how many people are interested in the grant. With that grant, I was able to hire a vulnerable population outreach coordinator, which they're changing that title, and a COVID generalist, which they're also changing that title. They've changed it twice already. And they've been wonderful. They're both health educators. One has a CHES certification and one has an inspector's certification. So they've been helping out on both ends. They've been amazing. Mariani and Danielle, some of you have met them. We've reached out, we've had homeless programs. We're working with Alzheimer's Association, the Mayor's Wellness Challenge, which we made it to bronze this year. Next year, I'm not settling. That's it. I told the girls, now that they're here, we're going to go for Healthy Town and we're going to win it. I'm confident. We're also doing, we've done Weight Loss Challenge in the past, but most of you know. We've changed it this year. We're calling it a Lifestyle Challenge. And our goal is to try to just get people up and out and active. One of the things we're going to do is have them walk into town, and we're going to work with some businesses where if they walk into town and they can get a coupon or something, an incentive to get them to walk around town, not just walk around Vets Field or walk around Abernacle. Like, we're trying to change it up with people, getting them walking. And then Varsity House is another community partner that's helping us with that. He's doing specific weigh-ins, and he's going to do a program here at Village Hall. We're also working with Parks and Recreation. So I'm very excited about this challenge. I think we all need it. We all need to get back to some type of normalcy, and I think we're going to have a lot of fun, and I think it's going to be very creative. We're going to look at stress management, financial management. We're going to try to just get everything back up and running and get people moving and grooving again.
When does that start on?
April 7th. April 7th. Yeah, the card, the postcard is almost ready to go out, but I love the name. I think, we always kind of used weight loss because they say like, oh, it's, the weight loss sells, but it really, I think lifestyle challenge can really help everyone. Like even like Margie in my office, she doesn't need to lose weight. And like if we ever try to do something, it's like, well, I don't need to lose weight, but now she can, walk or do whatever it is that, that makes her feel better and mentally feel better, healthier. And then my goals were to hire a COVID generalist and a population outreach coordinator, which I hired both of them, and they were both working out great, and hope to keep them for a long time. We successfully assisted over 10 hoarders and improved their living conditions and connected them to physiological and physical assistance. We created and established a procedure to assist hoarders. My staff actually took an 8-hour training regarding hoarding, and it was very, very helpful to them. It's been something that we've been dealing with for years. There's always somebody that needs help, and we need to get in there and try to help them have a safer lifestyle. Unfortunately, this year we did lose someone that we were not aware of that was a hoarder. They died in their house along with their cat. So it's just very sad, and we really try to help people before it gets to that point. Although COVID has taken up a large part of our time, we were able to manage completing the required inspections, complaints, and reports, as well as transferring over to a new vital record system for our birth certificates. So not only my COVID staff, but my registrar staff have been great. They've really stepped up, because I've been so busy with everything else. We had to change over to a new birthing system, and I have to say Terry stepped up. She managed it. We transitioned over, and it was a very smooth transition. So very thankful for them. My goals for 2022, first and foremost, I want to try to rebuild the community, as I was saying, to get back to pre-COVID normalcy, child health clinics, adult health clinics, wellness programs, and tabling events. We have a lot of programs and events that we're working on currently. Now that we're starting to see a slowdown in numbers, we have been redirecting our efforts to utilize community partners to assist with community health and wellness. Having been able to hire 2 public health professionals through the grant, we've been able to improve our outreach and connections with community partners. It's amazing how much they can get done. Like, I think about all the things I was just doing, like in Stigma Free myself, and having them, like we would leave a meeting and they get it done. It's just amazing. Some of the projects we've been working on include Stigma Free, Homebound Residents, Alzheimer's Association, various mental health programs in the community, as well as with the schools. This year, we're holding the Lifestyle Challenge, which I told you about. We're also going to try to increase our inspection program for the high-risk level restaurants, so for instance, sushi, or a restaurant that doesn't pass their first-time inspection, to have them at least completed twice a year. We used to do that, but then with COVID, we were just getting to the state mandate, which is once a year, so we're going to move back to that. I believe that seeing the restaurants being in there more than once a year is beneficial for them and beneficial for us. They become more comfortable with us, they become more comfortable with our face, and we can be more of an education tool to them rather than just coming in once a year and them dreading it. They kind of have a better relationship with us. It's proven to work over the past years. We would like to continue to improve our customer service skills within the department through positive recognition and training. I'd like to bring back employee wellness initiatives. Heather and I worked so much with it, and she was so supportive. And it really, I think, really helped. And I think right now, we've all been so segregated. We haven't connected with each other. So I would really like to try to work on something like that again, where we invite employees to try to participate. Like, they can always participate in our lifestyle challenge, but just some other programs in-house that we can get our employees motivated. I think overall the camaraderie, and we need to get that all back again now that we're able to start connecting again. Increased shared service agreements. Currently, I have a shared service agreement with Norwood, Glen Rock, and Fairlawn. Once COVID slows down, as long as it stays this way, I would love to take on more towns now that I have some more staff. I'll keep that staff. And improve vaccine compliance, not only with COVID, but with influenza. We'd like to get out there more. We've always done our flu clinics, but maybe with the education and make the vaccines more accessible to our seniors and our homebound residents now that we know who they are. And then my favorite one every year, I say the execution of accepting credit cards, which Bob and I have been talking about. We're going to get that done. And that's it. And so as far as my budget, it really hasn't changed much. I know the salaries look like, they've increased, but those are paid through by the grant. The increase in my salary and Marissa's salary are paid through by the grant. And Mariani and Danielle and Juliana are also all paid through by the grant. The grant basically was paying for everything except for the actual clinics.
Okay, questions?
How long do you expect those extra salaries to be funded by grants?
So, this grant ends June 30th of this year, and then we apply for the next grant that goes through June 30th of next year, and then if they continue it, so we don't know at this point.
Got it. Good. And just on something you said, did you say that 98% of the adult population of Ridgewood is vaccinated?
That's what the statistics say, yeah, and I can share that with you. We can't share it with the public, but I can show it to you.
That's
yeah.
very impressive.
It's a little, it's not that it's exaggerated, but it's, because sometimes it'll say 102%, and you're like, how is it 102%? So, I'm not an epi, but we inquire and they say, sometimes you have like other towns, obviously if you think about everybody getting vaccinated, there's always names wrong.
Sure.
I mean, even in my office, like Mary, her booster didn't show up because she got her booster somewhere else and she put her name in differently and then we had to correct it. So like a lot of people have that problem. If you don't put Dawn C. Citrullo, if I put Dawn Citrullo the next time, it's going to show up differently. So there is a little, but yeah, 98%.
That's very impressive. Do you know what the surrounding communities are like?
I do. I have those numbers. Yeah.
Oh,
I have to look what I can share. I know I can't share everything, but I can share like a summary.
Yeah, if you could forward me that, I'm just personally curious.
Yeah.
I think it's incredibly impressive.
Yes.
I don't have any questions. I just want to say, I think you and your team have done a phenomenal job the last 2 years.
Thank you very much. Thank
really,
you.
I can only imagine the stress level, the time commitment, really, kudos, applause to you and your whole staff.
I will let them know. I know. They're amazing. I've never once were they, that's not my job, or can you do this, can you do that? Just, it's amazing. I am very lucky. And I also have assistance from the state, a retired health officer who ironically was my health officer when I started here 23 years ago.
Wow.
She was the Fairlawn health officer and she was the health officer. So when I was assigned a retired health officer to help, it was her. And she's just been amazing, just amazing. And she's here to help. So she'll go out and do inspections. She'll, help organize whatever it is, whatever I need from her, she just does it. It's been great. She's been supervising the contact tracers, which has been, a huge project. 7 days a week. It's great. So thank you.
Questions anyone?
Nope.
So
Thank you.
I'm just going to add that 2021 was like the year to remember for the health department. So the year in review and the achievements. I think that for you, for Heather, for myself, the hours that went into this, and I just have to share with everyone and with the world that there were some long nights and long weekends and trying to get things done, and kudos to Dawn, her staff, and to Heather, honestly, through all of it, because it was just a crazy, crazy time.
It was.
And the amount of work, it was just crazy.
And I have to say, Heather, of course, she's been so amazing, but just everyone in the village. Ryan, the EMTs, I need them for this date and this time. They were always there. Cecil and Vic, we need you to set this up. I didn't even have to ask them. So many people just really stepped up and helped us, which was really, really nice, and we really appreciated it.
And just even getting vaccines, it was just the insanity of all of it. But I think it was a job well done. So
yeah. And my nurses out of Valley, I have to tell you, Annette, she's so type A, and she just, she was amazing, and she was just amazing at how organized and how efficient, and, you couldn't travel with the vaccine, so she'd show up 2 hours early to sit here with it was a lot, and they were amazing, so I'm very, very lucky to have them.
Yeah, lots of sleepless days and nights and, craziness, so thank you, and thanks to everyone, really.
I just want to say thank you also. I admire what you and your team have done, over these past 2 years, and it really is incredible. There are a lot of towns that are bigger that didn't take on vaccine clinics, and, Dawn from the very beginning took it on. So I think it's really wonderful. I'm thrilled that you have your 3 people with the grant. It's wonderful too, because, this allows you to do more. And I know that we have vulnerable populations out there, and this is serving that need that we've had for a very long time.
Definitely, definitely. We're actually going to start working with the churches and with the houses of worship to try to really get in and find out who's out there. We actually are working, I forgot to mention this, we've been working on this, a postcard that we can pay through the grant that's going to go to every home. And one of the biggest things I wanted to say at the bottom is, if you or your neighbor you think may need assistance, you can call us, even if it's anonymous, and we will just go knock on the door and we will check on them, because I think those are the people, that we're not finding. And one of the things we're saying is just check on your neighbor. If you don't know, get their phone number. I went and did that with my neighbors. I just went and said, let me just have your phone number. You have my phone number in case, God forbid, you fall or something. It's just nice to have that connection, and we don't think about it. And the fact that we had 40 homebound residents that we didn't know about. And in the beginning, Bernadette was so helpful with Councilwoman Walsh. She was so helpful with trying to get everything going, and we were doing the outreach. We were dropping thermometers. We were buying thermometers and dropping thermometers off at houses, and food. She would go and pick up food. I mean, it was just amazing. Amazing at how the community came together. Like I said in the beginning, I've always known, the restaurant community, I've always seen how they would borrow ice and they would do such nice things, but I really saw with COVID how, the actual residents were really helping each other, and it was really a nice thing. So.
Thank you, Dawn.
Thank you. Get to go pick up my puppies.
Thanks, Dawn.
All right. So now we get to the difficult ones. Okay, so village manager is next. Okay, so as village manager, I think there were a lot of different accomplishments, but there were a lot of new hires. We have new assistants in IT. We have a new supervisor for Parks and Shade Tree, a new supervisor for distribution and treatment and water. We hired a new tax assessor, a new building department director, and a new fire chief. In 2021, we were closed at the beginning of the year and opened up again in June. So we've actually been working, unlike some other places, from April 2020 forward. It was, a few days a week, and then as of June 2020, we have all been here full-time. There have been times we've been closed to the public, and then other times when we've been open. But we've all been here full-time since June of 2020, which I want to thank the staff, the directors, the supervisors who made that happen. I also, while we were closed, we were able to service any resident, whether it was on phone, by giving them forms virtually, electronically. We set up a service window in the garden room where we could help people, and if they had to come into Village Hall, we made an appointment, and then we'd meet in a conference room with them. We also transitioned to in-person council meetings, which was a good thing, and I think that's basically the achievements. Obviously, various departments achieved a lot of things throughout the years, as you've already heard. For 2022, I would love to finish the diversion, get that done. I would love to have the Kings Pond Playground put in, but that is also connected with the diversion and the timing of that. The Water Department's new building should be opening sometime probably in June or July, we'll see. But that'll be a great achievement, I think, for all of us. I'd like to, as Dawn mentioned, it's interesting she brought up the wellness initiative for employees, because that's actually one of my goals, to return to that, both mental and physical health, whether it's, having someone come in and do meditation, like at a lunchtime, and people can just come in and do it if they want to, or doing walking around Vets Field or elsewhere, or we also had, in the past, we had a cooking class one time. So we'll see what we can do. I would like to do that now that we're getting a little bit closer to normal. Also, I'd like to move the Shedler improvements along. I think we're on a good track, and hopefully we can, complete the berm and the trees and the fencing, and hopefully get additional approvals from SHPO to be able to move forward with other improvements at that property. I also expect, we'll see, that the house will be done sometime near the end of the year. I know, I haven't heard yet when we're going out to bid, so usually, it's like a 6-month leeway or a 9-month leeway that they give them. Basically, it's the interior of the house that has to be completed, so I'm hoping that we can get that done by the end of the year or early next year. I think, and the new phone system. We're getting there. I hope within a month to 6 weeks we'll be done. I know they've deployed some phones. We have to also rely on the phone company itself as to when we can switch over, but we're getting there. So that's basically achievements and goals. Basically, the budget hasn't gone up much from 2021. I don't know if you have any particular questions.
Anybody have any questions? It's an easy one.
Okay. Okay. Then we'll go on to Village Council.
Wait, is there, I'm sorry, village, on the capital budget?
Nope.
For village manager?
Nope.
No.
There is none?
No.
Oh, right, that was last year. Okay.
So, Village Council, again, the budget is exactly the same, right? Is what I'm seeing. Maybe $1,000 more.
I'm sorry, Heather, I didn't hear what you said.
I think it's $1,000 more in Village Council.
So that one item that's coming out, right? The 75?
The 7,500 for CB DAC?
Right.
Correct. I left it in there by mistake, so I'll take that out.
Okay. That'll be out. So any questions about that budget? Okay. Then we'll move on to Village Attorney. I'll have Bob do that.
It's up slightly over last year by about $150,000. It's primarily due to claims against the village that have been settled, that are being paid out this year. We put money in there for union negotiations. We have some contracts that have not been finalized, police being one of them. And rather than, we just want to put money in there just in case. We have no idea how this is going to play out, but better to be safe than sorry. Trying to think what else is in here. I think that's it. That's, again, there are cases that are being settled or in the process of being settled that I prefer not to discuss individually, but That's the overall increase.
Okay, anyone, any questions on that?
Yeah, I have two questions. What is RME?
That is one of the cases.
Got it. And I gather the 195 is what we pay the village attorney.
Yeah, so that is a reduction from last year. Matt changed how he bills the village, so we've saved, approximately $40,000 over how we've been paying him in the past.
Good, thank you.
Okay, anyone else? Okay, Nick?
Yes.
I
Can't hear you, Pam.
Can't hear.
With regard to the labor attorney, his fee is reflected as an expense of, reading across, $50,000 was appropriated in 2021, and now we're going to appropriate 80, is that right?
That's correct. So experience has shown that we go to Dominic and some of his colleagues for matters that affect all our departments, police, fire, whenever there's contract issues or interpretations, or if there's any litigation that has to do with grievances filed, things of that nature. So it's been on an increase, it's been on the rise, and we're trying to budget appropriately for it.
How are the union negotiations different from that?
So that's a labor attorney for cases that, case law, things of that nature. Union negotiations would be if we were to have disagreements as to interpretation of what we want going forward in contracts that we've had in the past. And these are, going back several years, these are specialists in negotiating contracts, those that have done this before in other municipalities, whereas a labor attorney, somebody like Dominic, handles more cases that would be adjudicated or things that would go before trial. So more of a trial type attorney than one that talks about.
So he's going to do grievances
Yes,
and that sort of thing?
Yes.
And the people who do the union negotiations are drafting the collective bargaining agreements?
that's correct,
Gotcha.
or interpreting them.
Okay, or interpreting. All right, I see. Thank you.
The next one is village clerk. Some 2021 highlights. In 2021, there were 677 OPA requests that were answered. This does not include police OPA requests. It's over 100 more than any previous year. I have to say, we're on track for another record year this year. As of 2/16/21, we had 71 OPA requests. 2/16/22, we have 88 OPA requests so far this year. So it looks like it's going to be even over, if it continues with this pace, it'll be over. In June, we had the primary. They were in person. We had many new poll workers. August, for elections, council candidates, petitions had to be certified in mere days. It took a lot of time and effort on the village clerk's office. And in the November general election, of course, it was in person, but there were the new iPads that people had to sign on and log into. So myself and the deputy clerk went to a training so that we knew what the changes were going to be, so that if we had to, we could assist the poll workers on that day. I think it's a much more streamlined process. I think it's really beneficial that they've changed over. Apparently, there's going to be another change. They're going to change over the machines, I think, this year is what we were told. And so we'll see how that goes. We haven't heard much more than that so far, but I'm sure we'll hear more in the near future. With Laserfiche, which is a scanning OCR program, we were able to, in the clerk's office, scan and record resolutions and ordinances back to the year 2000, contracts back to 2014 and minutes back to 2004. So we'll continue to go back. We're going forward as well, but we'll continue to go back as time allows. What this allows us to do is to search for records very easily. If someone said, you know, I'd like to see any minutes pertaining to the Shedler property, you can then go in, type in Shedler, and all of those minutes will come up, and you'll be able to search them. A goal, I know, is, the other thing I wanted to say is we also had our deputy retire after 10 years of being here, and then Eileen Young has stepped up as a new deputy, and I have to say she's getting used to her new duties, and she's doing a great job. Village-wide, in 2022, we'd like to have a shred day, which would be just for all the departments. Many of them have let me start from the beginning. Any record that is destroyed has to get permission from the state to do so. So it's done through an online program called Artemis. So you put it into the program, it gets approved, and then you can destroy it. Well, people have boxes and boxes, various departments have boxes and boxes of things to be destroyed. So we'd like to get a shred truck in, because there's one particular shred truck that has someone standing there the whole time. They then give you a receipt for what was shredded. And that's important, because if we get an OPA request for something and we no longer have that document, we have the verification that we, first of all, had permission to destroy it, and then secondly, that we had it destroyed and here's the evidence. So the record no longer exists. Certain records have to be kept forever. Things, especially in the village clerk's office, things like resolutions, ordinances, agendas, minutes, will be kept forever and ever. There are things in the building department that have to be kept forever. But there are other things that after a certain number of years can be destroyed. OPA requests, you know, a lot of documents for other departments can be destroyed, you know, after a certain number of years. And so we're hopeful that we can coordinate that so that we can have a village-wide shred day for village departments. And also learning just about the new machines and how that's going to work for the elections is basically the goals. Basically the budget for 2022 is actually down a little bit from 2021, mostly probably due to the salaries and wages line, where you know, the former deputy was making more money than the current deputy after 10 years. Did you have any questions?
Any questions on that? We're good?
Okay.
Everyone's good?
Good.
Okay, so the next one is elections. And our election budget is a little bit down from 2021. We do have a November election this year, and the county will pick up most of the cost of that. We do get charged by the county for primary, every town does, and that's usually anywhere between 22 and 26,000. We never know until we get the bill, but that's approximately. Other than that, it's pretty, you know, as I said, it went down, and I don't know if you have any questions.
Any questions about elections? Nope.
Okay.
Okay. That's it.
So, that's what we have for tonight. I just want to mention that on Friday, February 25th is our next budget meeting. We'll go through the water department, solid waste and recycling, finance and tax collector, and then the capital funds, the debt service, deferred charges, statutory expenses, shared services, parking, utility, revenues for the current fund, salary accumulated leave, staff levels, surplus and current fund, and trust funds, and then the overall budget. In addition, I'm hoping that we can bring to you the final capital budget overall for the entire village, and then we'll discuss them and see where you want to be with the appropriations for the capital budget. We're currently, what, approximately?
So the goal would be to get to $7.5 million. We're currently at 8.9. Last year, we were over 10, and that was the result of almost $2 million needed because of Hurricane Ida. So 7.5 would be a good target, and so we can discuss this at our next meeting and see where we want to go.
So I'm hoping that at that meeting, we can determine the capital budget definitely, because then the bond council will be able to create those bond ordinances to move forward. For the 28th, we're hopeful that we can meet that day. We need to get, what is it we're waiting for from the county?
So in order to get you accurate information on what a tax rate would be for this year, we need the net valuations taxable from the county. It's critical this year because we had such large number of developments that were settled last year. We had partial assessments. So now I need to know what the impact those are going to have on our net valuations. The county provides that, so once I get it, I'll be able to give you some accurate information. If I don't have that, I'll give you some ballpark information that we can take a look at and see where we want to go.
Right, and last year, he mentioned, we received that on March 1st, so our meeting is February 28th. That could have been due to COVID. That's what I'm hopeful. We'll have it before March 1st. If we don't, we'll have to do one more special public meeting between March 1st and March 9th to finalize the budget and the tax rate.
Okay, anyone have any questions about that?
Bob, I just have a question. Have we, I know last year you talked about federal money we'll be getting, and there was, who knows when we're going to get it, if we're going to get it. Have we gotten anything? Is there any update on it?
So July 1, we received $1.3 million from ARP money. That's 1/2 of what we're entitled to. We will get the second half this year. So that first tranche I'm using to satisfy any shortcomings we have in the budget for 2021. And then in 2022, we'll be able to use that other 1.3. The question that remains is the state has to tell me if they're going to allow me to use that second tranche because it's not in-house yet. Basically what they do is anything that's not federal money or doesn't have an agreement associated with it has to have something in place before they'll allow you to anticipate that money. So they haven't come out with any guidelines as to how they're going to move forward. So once I find that out, I'll also be able to give you some better revenue numbers as to how it's going to help us next year. When I say next year, I mean 2022. I apologize.
And that would go towards operating expenses, not capital?
None of it goes to capital because we've had revenue shortfalls and we've elected to use that money to compensate for those shortfalls. So some of that money goes to the current fund in this budget, and some will also be allowable for the parking utility, where we were able to use some of the shortfall for last year as well.
Any other questions? Nothing? Okay.
Thank you.
All right, so I know there's no one here from the public, but we'll ask anyway if there are public comments. Beyond that, we'll take an adjournment.
So moved.
Motion to adjourn, sorry.
Second.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.